Now more than ever, we have this epidemic of people pursuing positions in political commentary. And it is a fascinating position to be in. You're in a place of significant influence and accountability in a social sphere where everybody jumps on anybody for anything. But simultaneously, if you make it big enough, you never have to take accountability for anything. You can say whatever you want, no matter how false it may be, and have hundreds of thousands of people protecting you. Imagine having all of your actions analyzed under a microscope and being genuinely hated by a chunk of the population that is likely just parroting things they've heard about you from other people. Those who criticize you online have likely never actually even seen one of your videos. I mean, I don't know. I guess you can make some money if you like scam and grift people hard enough. But other than that, to be honest with you, it just kind of seems like a net negative, twin. This system is a symptom of a much bigger issue that has been running rampant for a very long time. The death of modern political discourse has made people completely unable to decide who is and is not a good influence. In my opinion, that doesn't make for such a good society. There are a million things to blame for this. There's poor socialization, screen addictions, the rise of chatting streams, bad social skills, lack of critical thinking skills, a disinterest in research. Nobody wants to be the person that figures things out. They want to be the person to co-opt the belief once it becomes popular to hold. That being said, today I've decided to make a video on what I believe were the primary contributing factors that led us to live in the political wasteland we are now currently in. I always joked with my friends that we as the Americans learned a lot from the British. In Great Britain, when the government did something everybody hated, there was nobody to blame other than the people directly responsible, the royal family and everyone associated with them. All of the citizens were united around a common disliking of those in power. The two-party system takes all of the potential power abuse of a monarchy and cranks it to 11, then brands every citizen with a team that they will be forced to side with and fight for nearly unconditionally. Then, when things go wrong, like they always do, when people become upset with a new president, like they always are every new term, rather than directly blaming the people responsible, we as Americans opt to blame those who voted for this person, as if a vote is a direct endorsement of anything and everything this person ends up doing later on. This will happen no matter who you vote for, and even if you didn't vote, you'll be labeled as someone who doesn't care about your country, and you'll be called quote-unquote a part of the problem who will not be respected by either side. As if your vote actually matters anyways. It will be enforced by news sites, schools, content creators, brainwashed family members, and pretty much everyone you're meant to trust has your best interest at heart. Hardly any of them will ever encourage you to decide for yourself, likely because they themselves are unable to, and such a thing has never even occurred to them. So right away, this creates a massive problem for finding common ground and actually seeking truth together. If I'm fighting for my team every day in my place of work, and then later at the dinner table, and I learn something that doesn't support their beliefs, I am far more likely to flat out disagree with the reality that's been proposed to me and substitute my own. Because being an individual is scary. Why argue alone when I can be part of this hyper-aggressive team that will back anything I say, no matter how outrageous or potentially false? In modern discourse, the me versus you mentality is nearly inescapable, and it's so strong that even someone like me who doesn't like or trust the government can get wrapped up in the left versus right garbage sometimes, even if it is completely pointless. I really do think that the two-party system is the most perfect tool any power has ever created to keep people reliant on the government and comfortable with being ruled over. The illusion of choice and such, or wherever that comes from. This point to me is the most universally applicable among us Americans. Almost everyone that's ever engaged in political discussion has fallen into this. Oftentimes, political conversations can get intense, which is natural. Occasionally, your political opinions reveal the kind of person you are. There are, of course, exceptions, but largely, someone's morality is pretty understandable if you speak with them long enough and get their opinions on certain key subjects. Think immigration, abortion, freedom of speech. Because this is the case, it is extremely common for people to become combative in an attempt to metaphorically overpower the person they're talking to in order to impose their moral superiority. This can involve becoming irrational or just raising your voice, all the way to personally insulting the person you're talking to, which, in my experience, people don't tend to be more open to new ideas once you've disregarded them and insulted them. This is more so a problem of self-control, which is something people generally seem to lack. And as I said earlier, everyone and their mom falls victims to this every once in a while. Everybody gets upset. I'm by no means calling you a bad person or an uncontrollable child if you find yourself doing this. I need to get to the point with this section. My brain is going in circles. Okay, right. The purpose of discussion is to seek truth, right? Iron sharpens iron and such. But if we are just trying to emotionally strong-arm one another, we become completely numb and disinterested to reason. And if we aren't ready to have our minds changed, if we aren't willing to hear someone out, then there's no point in even debating. There's no point in talking. I'd rather talk to a brick wall than play any part in an aggressive, one-sided argument. Resorting to our baser instincts and yelling at or insulting our friends and family over something that can easily be talked about with respect and dignity isn't what God expects of us, and we should hold ourselves to a higher standard than that. In the book of Matthew, he writes about how we will all be judged by the same measures we judge others, and how we need to take the logs out of our own eyes before bringing up the sawdust in our brothers. This is something all of us have to work on, especially if you're watching this video and you're commonly engaging in politically charged content. It's good to remember that we're called to be good to one another, not because it makes you a good person necessarily, or because you'll be rewarded for it, but because we are the product of an act of mercy none of us can ever manage to live up to or deserve. As such, it doesn't make any sense to create meaningless hate between one another for a thing as silly as politics. Our duty is to serve the truth and walk in the light, and if you critically analyze your beliefs and you think maybe some of the things that you support might be on the outside of that light, I highly recommend you reassess the things that you believe in. I very subtly hinted at this earlier with the greatest subtlety I can manage, but the rise of just chatting streamers has damaged political discussion more than I think anyone realizes. You have this group of people in a sphere of immense influence whose daily job is to consume the news cycle, make some kind of uneducated guess on what's going to happen next, and then get pissed off about everything, acting as defensively and reactionary as they possibly can. Because at the end of the day, these people are not authorities, and even if they are, that status comes second to being an entertainer. After all, being level-headed and understanding doesn't pay the bills. If you aren't spreading your own brand of righteous fury, then most modern audience members will just assume that you don't believe in your own cause enough to be completely belligerent and unreasonable for it. A reasonable person that looks at both sides of a disagreement and does their due diligence and research is infinitely less entertaining to watch than someone who just blows up over every minor thing. And they are heavily encouraged to act like this because of the way that clip farming culture works. And these streamers know this. They know that if someone were to see a 5-second snippet of them on YouTube Shorts losing an argument, they've effectively lost that person forever, and inversely, they've likely earned a supporter if the clip shows them winning an argument. The only way they win in this exchange is to always be on the attack. And I'm willing to bet that when I said all that just now, a whole catalog of people appeared in your head. Hasan Piker, Denims, Frogan. These are the only people that come to mind for me personally. I don't watch streamers ever, but they are far from the only ones guilty. People in these positions hardly ever make any meaningful attempt to understand their opponents because it's bad for business and there's nothing in it for them. I would like to reiterate, there is no punishment for them being wrong regardless of the severity. So naturally, there's no debating them because understanding is not the goal. Winning is the goal. And the only way to win is to talk over and humiliate your opponent as frequently as humanly possible. So naturally, the hundreds of thousands of people who watch these streamers also believe that understanding is optional and winning is the goal of discussion. The rise of short-form content has pretty much killed any and all ability to pay attention for more than 2 seconds, and I know this for a fact because I guarantee you I scrolled for at least 2 hours while editing this video together. I'm probably scrolling in between sentences. I'm scrolling while writing this script. What was I talking about? I suppose the effect of short-form content is rather simple to explain, and I won't waste your time trying to go super in-depth as there are entire videos dedicated to the subject that I really do think will do much more justice than I can. We don't have the attention span for reason anymore. Like, collectively. This isn't an issue that a small portion of the population suffers from, it's hundreds of millions of people. I remember when everyone was talking about how cursive is gradually being taken out of the public education system, and people believe that it's so that the next generation is unable to read important historical documents or like something like that. I don't quite remember. Now, I don't know about all that because I was born in 2005 and I learned cursive. Barely. But it would actually kind of make sense for a malicious government to heavily push for short-form content. The era of debate will be lost entirely. Future politicians will just need to make a pitch to the people on YouTube Shorts, and that'll be the end of it. Campaigns will be outdated. Jokes aside, short-form content is not good for us, like at all. Notice how most YouTube videos you watch will never have a single pentasecond of silence, because we as YouTubers were taught to edit out any and all breaks from stimulation out of our videos. If you so much as take a breath and you didn't edit it out, you run the risk of losing people. And that's enough motivation for most people to hyper-edit their videos for retention, which in turn makes the situation worse, because at that point, even if you are steering clear of short-form content and you understand its effects on you, you're getting the traits of short-form content in long-form content. It's not good for us, and it makes discussion more difficult because people are now unable to talk about a topic in depth for any meaningful amount of time. And because people's attention spans are so much shorter in general anyways, most of these people likely don't have anything intelligent to say in the first place. The average person in the Big 26 has never taken the time to independently research a topic topic to argue for it. They see an Instagram reel on a topic on their For You page, and that makes them a qualified expert well enough to debate you. Sometimes I'll be having a discussion with someone, and they will literally bar for bar, word for word, flow for flow, repeat something that I have seen on a YouTube short, either subconsciously or because they just thought I wouldn't notice. So either we've all become extremely suggestible drones or morons incapable of individual thought, and I really don't know which one is worse. This is the most dystopian topic in this video, but no matter what you see in the modern day, you have to have some amount of reasonable belief that whatever you just saw is fake. Either in the literal sense, with the rise of more realistic AI, I mean, half the stuff older generations post on Facebook and Instagram is AI-generated content, and they either can't tell or don't care, or it's fake in the sense that there was a coordinated effort to make an event seem random or spontaneous when it was literally scripted. It's so horrifying that I have to openly deny the evidence of what I'm seeing, and I constantly have to take a step back and assess with myself, if I get outraged about this, who is benefiting from it? Or what angle could be played on this to benefit corporations? I'm gonna make a hypothetical for this to better explain kind of what I'm getting at. Like, let's say there's this group of people distributing dangerous drugs in a large city, and those drugs end up killing people. Maybe now the government makes a big scene about the lives lost, and they decide they want to take a proactive approach to drug distribution, and they want to catch these people before they can make it big. So they mandate a technology like flock cameras to cover every last block of that city. But we have a government that never ceases to push things too far. If you give them an inch, they'll take all you have to give. So these flock cameras are obviously not targeting drug dealers. If anything, that is a slightly positive side effect of mass surveillance. What these cameras are really there to do is track people of interest. They use AI to scan what vehicle you drive, who you are, your daily routine, and where you live. I guess my overall point with this is, now I have to wonder, with all of these factors, that everything that just happened, was the drug bust real? Was that a real group of people that did that, or was this an elaborate story created to get people riled up and allow the average person to become more comfortable with living in a surveillance state? Was there an idea made and then fabricated means to enact that idea? Did the people ever even actually have a say? I genuinely cannot believe what I see. I can't trust these people because no matter what I think they're capable of, they've done worse. And if the things they've admitted to are absolutely awful crimes against humanity, imagine what they're not telling you. I can't trust my own judgment. I can't trust media personalities because they're probably paid off. I can't trust my family. I can't trust the powers that be to tell me the truth. So the way I see it, we all have two options: live in paranoia or withdrawal. And about 6 months ago, I chose to withdraw. I was genuinely incapable of interacting with the news cycle or current world problems without taking it to heart. It affected me so badly that I became a different person when talking about it, like overly irrational and aggressive. I think the best thing we can do is look for injustice and destroy it when we find it. Ultimately, there's not much we can do about the big things. Is anyone ever going to get in trouble for the Epstein files? No. It will never happen. I bet $100 million that nobody ever goes to jail. But just know that just because these people run rampant for a short time in human history doesn't mean that they are in any way avoiding justice. Avoiding human justice, maybe, but, you know, what's that? Well, what is that, going to jail? I think hell might be worse by a little bit. As I said, I think the correct reaction is just to not even pay attention most of the time. It's just not good for you. You aren't a politician getting paid millions to keep up with the events happening all over the world. We all work too hard to lose sleep over things that we can't change. In conclusion, there are a million things stopping us from actively seeking truth together, and this is something that's been bothering me for ages, because there's genuinely so much that all of us have in common, and there's so much we can all agree on as a society, but we've been convinced that not being super combative and aggressive for your cause makes you passive. We almost never target the people responsible. We target each other, and nothing ever gets resolved. It's sad, man. While there's seemingly nothing we can do to change that, we can change how we act as individuals. We can respect and love the people we disagree with. They are our opponents, but they are not our enemies. We can actually look for a solution together and listen to arguments in good faith. No matter how hard that can be at times, the enemy wants us to hate each other. Don't let them win.